Hey guys, Bobby here from Cigars.com, and today we are joined by Michael Herklots from Ferio Tego. Welcome, Michael.
What's happening?
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Much better now. About to fire up.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We both got the new Summa lit, which we are very excited to smoke. One of Ferio Tego's newest lines. So Michael, what's your exact title for Ferio Tego?
You know, titles were nice when I had the good fortune of working for some great companies. Now, owning our own, all the titles fall under the same thing. I didn't realize entrepreneur was French for broke, broke, tired. But no, co-owner is the easiest.
Okay.
The easiest. I have one business partner, Brendan, and we're in it. We're in it together.
Awesome.
But I'll take any recommendations if you have some.
Hey, I mean, co-owner
titles.
sounds great.
Yeah,
that sounds
good.
great. That's top tier right there.
It's good.
The captain. So, I know you've been in the industry for some time now. Tell us a little bit about your past before you started Ferio Tego, if you don't mind.
So I'm closing in on my 25th year in the industry. I started I had my first cigar in 1998, and I started working in the business in 1999 in retail in Boston. And I had no vision or goal of making this a career. My goal was to try and get a discount because I couldn't afford to buy cigars. And so like any good consumer, if you can get a job, a little part-time thing, get a discount, that sounded good to me. And I was pursuing music in Boston and got a part-time job in a kiosk in a mall. And that was the spring of 1999, and I have been in the industry ever since. So I did that for I guess probably 3 years, a couple at that kiosk, and then I moved to a proper shop also in Boston. And then I moved to New York City in 2002 and got hired by Davidoff on Madison Avenue as a salesperson. And that was great. I mean, that was like, everyone was older than me. I mean, this was like a serious shop, like you had to wear a suit. I remember I used to see the guys working there. I used to visit when I was living in Boston. I would come to New York and I would visit the shop. And even watching these guys vacuum at the end of a shift with suits on, I was like, oh, this is so cool,
Yeah.
So I started working there in the spring of 2002 as a salesperson. And then in 2006, Davidoff bought a second store on the west side, and they moved me there as general manager. So that was a nice jump. And I did that for 2 years. And then the manager from the Madison Avenue store left, and they created a new position and put me in charge of both. So then I ran both Davidoff stores from 2008 to 2011. And then I was recruited by Nat Sherman to join their company. And that was a very cool opportunity. It was, Nat Sherman was a New York institution, and they had this beautiful store in New York, but as the family kind of explained it then, the store just wasn't where they wanted it to be, and their cigar business had really, admittedly, they said, taken a lower priority to some of their other businesses, and so they really wanted to see that elevated. So I got to run that side of the company, and as part of that, a lot of my work was developing blends, working with the factories, creating a sales force, bringing products to market. So that was an amazing 9 years. So all in, that was 9, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That was 22 years between Boston, Davidoff, and then Nat Sherman. Ultimately, Nat Sherman had been sold and then was subsequently closed during COVID. And then I said, let's do it. Let's do it. So we started Ferio Tego, and then fast forward, as I was working on the Ferio Tego project, it became clear that actually we might be able to acquire some of the brands and blends that I had developed while I was at Nat Sherman.
Yes.
And then I partnered with my buddy Brendan, who was the old CFO, and we went all in Ferio Tego together. Then we acquired Timeless and Metropolitan as well, and off to the races. And then if we're gonna just keep spinning this tale,
Hey, keep it going.
then we had to figure out how we were gonna sell this stuff, and we ended up engaging with Davidoff USA for a distribution agreement. So the folks that I had worked with for 9 years, and then worked for 9 years, then worked with for the next 9 because they make one of the Nat Sherman blends. It was really an uninterrupted 18 years of working together. And so when it was time to figure out how Ferio Tego was going to go to market, they said, "Why don't you consider us?" And so that's that's the Reader's Digest version of 25 years.
That's incredible, man. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had such a history. That really is incredible. Thank you for shedding some light on that.
Yeah, man.
So, I mean, you mentioned you and Brendan had started Ferio Tego. What was really the driving force behind that? Behind starting your own brand on your own?
Well, I would be lying if I said that I had always dreamed of owning my own. I really didn't. I loved working for other people, I liked Christmas bonuses. I liked guaranteed checks, I mean,
Yes.
wasn't quite that guaranteed, but you know what I mean. Like,
Of course.
there's a lot
Something
of,
extra
lot of
coming in.
safety and security when you work for someone. And, I think it's important that we level set the timing of what we're talking about. We closed November of 2020. So we were right in the middle of pandemic chaos.
Yeah.
And truth be told, there just were not many opportunities, particularly opportunities for someone like me because of what I had done for the last 9 years. I was in charge of retail. I was making blends. I was, for all intents and purposes, I was in front of the brand, representing it everywhere. And so I think that was probably intimidating maybe for some people that, it was probably a tough fit when a lot of people were considering me. And so I got a lot of phone calls like, "Oh man, I wish we could hire you." It's like, well, I wish you could too, bro. Like,
Yeah, come on.
What are you calling me for if you're just telling me how much you wish you could? But in those same conversations, I also received a lot of encouragement of people being like, now's your time to do it. You've been doing it for so long. You know the players, you know the game, you have the relationships, you've made blends, like you've done it all before. Just go do it. And after you hear that from enough people, and none of those people saying, here's an offer, it kind of backs you up, and you say, well, if all these people really believe I can do it, and I know I've already done it, then let's do it. And we did.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. And you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, it's exciting, man. And it's it's not plug and play, especially at that particular time.
Of course.
And it was also a delicate balance of, look, this is a Ferio Tego story. And Ferio Tego is the legacy that we're building. And so even though we have brands and blends that were created under a different halo, that halo is gone. And it's important that we really build the Ferio Tego brand to be that flagship halo of this new legacy that we're establishing, not only for ourselves and our flagship brand, but also for Timeless and for Metropolitan. And so that makes the Ferio Tego story really one of one. And as much as I appreciate you asking about the history, because I think it's important to share, it's also the least important in some ways because we're all moving forward.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so now we have 3 years in market, 3 in a quarter. We launched in October of 21 in market, so we're just now a bit into our 4th year in market, and that's nothing in the lifespan of a brand.
You're still new.
We're still new, and yet so many people in the last 4 years have entered this great hobby.
Of course.
They only know Ferio Tego, and they only know Metropolitan and Timeless as Ferio Tego. And moving forward, that's the way that it has to be.
Of course.
And it's been very reassuring to see how much our trifecta portfolio has really kind of coalesced and become so meaningful to people in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's very exciting.
It's incredible.
Which is why, look, how many 3-year-old brands would have the opportunity to sit down with you and do this?
Exactly.
Not a lot.
No, not a lot.
If any.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
So we are a one-of-one story.
Of course.
You want to know the rest, just Google it. But honestly, we hit all the highlights. The rest, don't worry about.
Oh, man. So, we're both smoking the Summa. I know this is one of your newest lines. But was there any any story or inspiration behind creating this line? Or did you have a specific blend in mind that you wanted to make to create this? Or what brought about the Summa line for you?
Well, first of all, let me just say that yours is smoking perfectly and mine should be, but I'm talking too much, which is why I'm relighting it. So just full discretion to the viewers at home. This cigar burns beautifully as long as you're not just talking for 20 minutes. So Ferio Tego is the flagship. And Ferio Tego has 2 blends, Elegancia and Generoso. But we only do them in one size, and we only release them once a year. And, of course, every brand needs an anchor, something that's evergreen. And so Summa is that. Summa is a traditional core line. It's available in 5 sizes. We launched it in 4, and then we released the Toro this past year as the 5th size. When I look at the portfolio, and I think of the 3 brands, Metropolitan, Timeless, Ferio Tego, I think of them musically. The Metropolitan brand was rooted and created in the mid-90s. And so even though I added to that in 2016, 2014, those are all within a style of what was kind of popular in the mid-90s. Obviously, we've put a new world spin on that with Ferio Tego. We've added some body. We remastered them, so to speak, to make them very relevant. But I think of that as like my first band, my first albums. And then there's Timeless. And Timeless was my next band. And those 4 blends are very representative of my style, 2012, 14, 16, 18. And so then you look at Ferio Tego, and that's my latest work. It's my newest album. It's the newest band.
Yeah.
And as if you have a band that you love, you always go back and listen to the hits that you love, and at the same time you love listening to the new album because you can sense the evolution of the artistry, and I think that very much holds true with the Ferio Tego portfolio. And so Elegancia and Generoso were, everything was riding on those being right. And I think based on the reviews and success, I think they were right.
Of course.
But it was just 2 facings that would come and go, and there's no way to anchor the brand without core. And so Summa was, by design, meant to be that anchor. And so that meant that it had to serve multiple masters, living evergreen between these 2 completely different experiences of Elegancia and Generoso. And so Summa in Latin means a synthesis of a body of work. And so I really wanted Summa to be not just a synthesis of Elegancia and Generoso to best represent Ferio Tego as core, but in a lot of ways as a broader culmination of my work making cigars. That this is the newest album. It's the newest song. If you're familiar with my older work, you're going to recognize some of this. But at the same time, it's going to very clearly represent the direction Ferio Tego is going, and that we truly are we are not continuing an old legacy. This is a new brand, new company, new vision, new style. And I think Summa is really emblematic of this old versus new. I mean, the body is so big. The flavor is so fudgy. It's dense, and yet it's not overpowering.
No.
It's not, I would not describe this as strong because that's not my style, I play jazz, I play rock, I don't play metal. And there are a lot of rock drummers playing metal in our business. There's a lot of brands that are trying to play what they think people want to hear instead of just playing like themselves. And Ferio Tego is very much the self-expression of what we believe is right. And so we're not a cover band. We're playing original songs, and that's going to take a little longer.
Of course.
But when you light up Summa, you don't light up Summa thinking how much it reminds you of something else. That's the opposite of what I want. When you light up Summa, it shouldn't remind you of anything. And it's only when you smoke another one that you're reminded of the last one. And to me, that's how original work lasts.
Absolutely. We're learning a little Latin here today too. I love it. That's great. So you spoke a bit about, your background in music and everything. Do you see any similarities with creating music and creating cigars? I know you did talk about that a little bit, but is there anything that goes hand in hand together there for you? I know, you have an extensive music background, so I'd love to know. And I'm sure our viewers would as well.
There's so many similarities. When you listen to a song that you love, you don't Google what drum heads were on the drums in the recording. You don't drill down to the guitar strings. You don't do a deep dive study on what the levels were on the mixing board. Music is created to make you feel something. And
yes,
for me, that's what handmade premium cigars are. I want you to feel it, and I want you to love it, and I want you to, if you want to drill deeper down and appreciate some of the detail and the nuance, you can do that, but you don't have to do it. And I think the best art in general, not just music, not just cigars, but it could be the best dish, the best painting. You should be able to just look at it and love it. And if you ask a question, there is an answer to be had, but sometimes it's just nicer to just enjoy it. And I think that's really, it's such a similarity. And even to, as from the artistic perspective, I do events all over the country. I was just at an event last night, and I said to the store owner, looking around the room with 40 people, all smoking Ferio Tego, and I said, man, it's the same feeling as sitting on a stage, and all these folks are here for the sole purpose of hearing you play, because your music brings them joy, or it brings someone else joy, and they told that person, you need to come check this out. And that, whether it's delivering what they want to hear because they're already familiar with it, or whether you're there at the moment of discovery and you watch that moment happen live, it's a feeling like none other. And I think it's only a feeling an artist can experience, or a chef, or a winemaker, or a songwriter. It's that moment of you've created something, and that's the most paralyzing, critical moment where you release it, and then you wait, and you know that some people are going to like it and that some people aren't, and you don't know how it's going to land. And so it's a very vulnerable moment every single time. Someone takes the cigar out of the cellophane. It's like, oh God, please, please draw, please burn, and please like it, because you can do all those things and they can still not like it.
Of course.
that level of vulnerability, but also passion, and then the whatever the emotional arithmetic is that ultimately equals enjoyment and response, and whether that response is applause in an audience or coming up after and saying, "Hey, I loved it," or just buying a box and asking you to sign it.
Yeah.
Man, there's just nothing better.
Sounds like nothing could beat that. I mean, I can't imagine being...
Other than more sales and bigger audiences.
Of course, we all want that, don't
Yeah.
we, at the end of the day? Yeah, I mean, you put that perfectly. Having, a room full of people enjoying your cigars, enjoying something that you crafted, that must be an incredible feeling to have. So,
And you also, there's no wrong way to create. But like I said earlier, it feels like sometimes there are 12 songs and there's 100 bands playing the same 12 songs.
yes, I agree.
And that happens in humidors all over. And so you just have to pick which band's version of that song you like.
Mm-hmm.
But the last thing I want to be is the second best version of something that you already like better by somebody else.
Want to be the best.
I want to be the best version of me.
Okay. Yeah.
As an artist, like I'm a drummer. I spent my time learning how to play like other drummers, not so I could sound like them, but to try and understand why they did what they did when they did it. But then when it came time for me to hit the bandstand, the last thing I did was replicate what I had heard. It's then you try and apply that in a authentic way when you're playing. It's inspired by, it's not replicative. And I think to some extent we have a lot of covers happening,
I know what you're saying. I definitely know what you're saying there.
We're not a cover band.
No, not at all. Not at all. So I know you mentioned Generoso and Elegancia briefly, and those are some lines that we love here at cigars.com. Can you speak on what those lines mean to you?
I love wine. And I've always loved the idea that a winemaker can make both a Chardonnay, which is a rich, buttery white, and a Cabernet Sauvignon, which is a richer, kind of classic old world red. And even though they are apples and bowling balls apart, you can taste the signature style of the winemaker.
Yes.
And you also know that every year the winemaker is not going to approach the next vintage by tasting the last vintage and using that to inform them on how to do this vintage. Rather, they're just making the best Chardonnay or Cabernet they can this year. And because it's the same winemaker and it's the same area, then it's going to be pretty similar. And so if you liked 2017, you're probably going to like 2018. But if you taste them side by side, maybe you can notice the unique signature of that particular vintage. That's the approach for Elegancia and Generoso.
Okay.
It's not a core line. The idea is that we can go back every year and I'm going to make Elegancia and Generoso again. And I'm going to make it with the same idea and the same goal, but not replicating the prior year's release. It's a lot like, to use a musical analogy, core lines, Summa, all of Timeless, all of Metro. I'm dating myself here, but let's say we sold out of CDs. We're not going to go back and re-record the album. We're just going to print more CDs, right?
Of course.
When you're maintaining core blends, you are replicating the experience of the last production to the next. So that means that you are changing things in the blend as necessary in order to keep absolute consistency. With Elegancia and Generoso, it would be the equivalent of taking the same arrangements and going back into the studio and re-recording that song every single year. And so great musicians with a great arranger, great arrangement if you just listen to that session, you might say, oh, I've heard this before. It's just like the last one. But if you listen to them side by side, you might notice
some slight alterations,
exactly
things like that. Yeah.
That's Elegancia and Generoso.
Okay.
It's an artistic, more winemaker inspired approach to do it again and date it and age it and create more of a culture of collecting, of aging, of going back and tasting. It's something I always wanted to do, and it's something that we've been very consistent with for those two. And to make it even easier, they come packed in humidors.
Yes.
So
very awesome.
I was worried originally that people would use, well, I don't have any room.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't need room because you can put this in your sock drawer. Just activate humidity, and you're good to go. So Elegancia and Generoso is a very special project. And then Summa, of course, is just core. And I think that trifecta of Elegancia and Generoso that you can look forward to, and you find them throughout the year, and you can carry it over, and you can age them, and you can vertical taste, and you can do all that stuff. That's a very unique proposition, I think, in our world. And then to have Summa as its anchor is just icing.
Yeah, well, that's great that, to give us a little background on Generoso and Elegancia, because, I'm sure we have some viewers out there who've been seeking it out. You will be able to find it on cigars.com in the coming days and weeks.
And 2023 is the current release.
Yes.
And you can look for 2024 probably towards the end of the first quarter of 2025.
Excellent. Keep your eyes peeled, people. So we did go through some extensive background on, the history and maybe some more, in-depth lines. Is there anything in the Ferio Tego portfolio that you would recommend to new cigar smokers? Because we do have some new viewers out there.
Here's an important point. The idea of a starting point with premium cigars is very different today than it was even when I started. People are discovering the hobby much later. And what that means is that beginners are actually much more advanced than they've ever been.
Yes.
Their palates are more developed. They already drink coffee. They already eat aged steaks. They may drink whiskey or wine. So they already have a palate that's so much further developed than perhaps an 18-year-old first-time cigar smoker was in 1998, like I was. And so that means that the idea of starting mellow, creamy, mild, sweet, flavored, all of that kind of old school logic has really gone out the window.
I agree.
And the most important thing is to understand, what do you currently like and what do you currently dislike and why? And then we find like experiences in the cigar world. So do you drink coffee? Yes. How do you drink it? Black. Great. Okay. Do you not like sugar? No, I don't like sugar at all. What did we just learn there? We learned that you have the capacity for strong flavors that skew darker, maybe bitter, and you don't like specifically sweet. That's some really important information.
Of course.
Do you drink alcohol? Yes. What do you like? I don't like brown spirits. I drink vodka, I drink gin, okay, great. So if you drink black coffee, but you don't like spirits, that means that you have a capacity for darker flavors, but maybe not hardcore strength, right? So
Yes.
You can start to learn you can read tea leaves differently now. And so I would encourage new cigar enthusiasts to write down the things that they like, the things they already enjoy, and figure out why. And then you can look in the cigar world, read the tasting notes, follow your reviews, engage in social platforms. And rather than saying, what do you recommend for a beginner, ask a more thoughtful question. What do you recommend for someone that loves black coffee and red wine? Because that is a completely different starting point. And now we're going to meet you where you are as far as your palate development. And you are much more likely to find something that you'll love and that you relate to, because you can find that commonality in this completely new medium.
That's a really great way to put it, honestly, because back when I started in the industry, I was told the things that you were saying, start mellow, start flavored, infused, whatever it may be. But when you put it out there like that, I mean, it makes complete sense because
And it's not a bad way.
Of course.
But we don't have to start at that beginning. You just have to start at your beginning.
Exactly, your beginning. Find the things that you like, make sure that but essentially find the things that you like and then equate that into the cigar that you're searching for.
And I still recommend that you discover.
Of course.
So you still have to try something sweet. You still have to try something flavored. You still have to try different sizes.
Yes.
And that's a critical part of discovery. No different than any other hobby, beers or booze or sneakers or whatever you're into.
Yep.
The discovery is part of the journey. That's important. It's just you don't have to start at Cigars 101 anymore. You can start further advanced and then go back and discover and catch up.
Yeah, and that's really important. And I know sizing does play a big role in flavor notes and things like that as well. But it sounds like Ferio Tego has a vast portfolio of cigars for anybody.
I appreciate you saying that.
Yes.
Because one of the things I think that is probably the most unique about Ferio Tego, we're manufactured in all three major manufacturing countries of origin, Nicaragua, Dominican, and Honduras. Our pricing is between 7 to mid 20s. And we have everything from light-bodied and mild, medium and specifically sweet, medium Nicaraguan Puro, full-bodied Nicaraguan Puro. We have every shape, every size, every price. We can meet every palate, every moment, no problem. So if you're looking for a place to discover all of those things, the Ferio Tego portfolio is the right place to start. That's how I should have said that. Cut.
Excellent.
What do you recommend for beginners? Ferio Tego. The Ferio Tego portfolio is the perfect place for beginners to start.
You guys have anything new and exciting? I know you mentioned Elegancia and Generoso coming back next year, which we're really excited for. But is there anything else in the Ferio Tego line that we should be prepared for in 2025?
You know what I think is new and exciting in 2025?
What's that?
Is a commitment to consistency. That's what's new and exciting.
All right.
We have found ourselves all living in meme world. Every month there's something new dropping. It's a constant evolution of new. Ferio Tego is new. We're 3 years old.
Yep.
Ferio Tego Summa is brand new. It's 1 year old. I do not feel the pressure creatively and artistically to build our reputation with new. We're going to build our reputation with consistent, high quality, and over-delivering value. And I think that is, though it's an old concept, it has become a novel one because we have evolved into such a meme culture.
Of course.
So we will offer new things when the time is appropriate and when the product is right. In the meantime, we are going to invest all of our time and our energy into preserving and maintaining the experiences that we have. So every time you pick up a Summa, every time you pick up a Timeless, Ferio, Metropolitan, whatever it is, every single one is as good as the last one you had.
That's an excellent way to put it. And I completely agree with you on, things coming out, 3 new cigars a month, 10 new cigars a year, even more than that. And things just get lost in translation in that, in that time frame.
I think that's great for big companies and big brands who have to keep a pulse. They have to keep a steady rhythm. But I think that's a trap as a new brand, because you don't remember the last story I told, and now you're memorizing a new one. And I want you to remember this story. I want you to remember the Ferio Tego story. I want you to remember our hits. When you go and see your favorite band play, you don't see a 90-minute show of new material. You want to hear your hits.
Yep.
You want to sing along. And maybe they play one or two new songs. But when you go and see your favorite band play, you want to hear your favorite songs the way they have always been played, the way they were recorded on the album. It's the number one priority of an artist, right? Is to deliver your hits the same way over and over and over and over again. And that is Ferio Tego.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And we are happy to hear that. And we are looking forward to the consistency and everything that you guys have planned and keeping it coming.
Good.
Hell yeah.
Find my hits.
Hell yeah. We will find them.